August 1993. Southern Siberia, Russia. The Khamar-Daban mountains. 6 hikers were making their way to the summit. The weather wasn't bad. There was no reason to feel danger. Then one of them suddenly starts screaming for no reason. And in that moment, everything collapses. Was this just an accident? Or did they see something? What exactly happened in that moment? That morning, they set out quietly. This was not an inexperienced group. Their leader was a skilled hiker. The route itself was not considered dangerous. The sky was clear. The wind was light. They talked to each other as they slowly moved up the mountain. The weight of their packs, the rocks beneath their feet, the cold air. Everything felt familiar. The plan was simple. Follow the route, set up camp, descend the next day. There were no unusual variables. It was a normal day in the mountains. No one questioned it. There was no reason to. But mountains never stay the same. As the afternoon approached, something began to change. It was subtle, barely noticeable at first, so they kept moving, and that decision changed everything. As time passed, the sky began to change. Clouds dropped lower. The wind shifted direction. At first, it felt manageable, but slowly it became sharper. The temperature dropped quickly. Their fingers grew cold. Their breathing became heavier. Still, this kind of change was normal in the mountains. It didn't seem dangerous, so they didn't slow down. If anything, they believed reaching the ridge would make things better. But visibility began to fade. The distant landscape disappeared. The wind grew stronger. It started pushing against their balance. Each step felt heavier. Each breath became shorter. And still, they kept going. At that moment, it seemed like a reasonable choice. But looking back, it led them somewhere they couldn't return from. And then the first sign appeared. They had reached near the ridge. The wind was violent. The cold was intense. And then one of them suddenly stops, breathing heavily. His gaze is unstable. There was no reason. Then he starts screaming. Not a short scream, a long breaking one. The others call out to him and move closer. But he steps back, as if something is right in front of him, something they cannot see. In that moment, the air changes. Everyone feels it. Something is wrong. His eyes are different. His reactions are no longer rational. He keeps screaming. He cannot control himself. This was not simple fear. This was a response to something they could not explain. And it didn't stop with him. It spread. His behavior begins to affect the others. It feels as if something unseen is moving between them. One person breaks and the others follow. Someone starts running without direction, without purpose. Another screams into empty space. Someone else collapses inward. Their hands shake. Their eyes cannot focus. They look at each other but do not recognize one another. They are no longer in a normal state. And then someone begins tearing their clothes, scratching their own skin. They cannot stop. This was not panic. This was a collective breakdown. Their sense of reality was collapsing at the same time. Were they seeing the same thing, or were they feeling it? From that moment, everything falls apart. No coordination, no communication. Each person moves in a different direction. Some run, some collapse. Suddenly, without warning, they clutch their bodies, gasping for air, and fall, and they don't get up again. This was not an accident, not an injury. not just the environment. Something was breaking them down, not from the outside but from within. Their consciousness fades. Their behavior becomes erratic. The survivor later said they were no longer human. Their eyes lost focus, their reactions slowed, and one by one they went silent, until only the wind remained. That night, it all ended, and only one person survived, Valentina Utochenko. She was there, she saw everything, but she could never explain it, why it happened, what they saw. She only said, it started suddenly. The strange part was this: nothing happened to her. Same place, same time, same conditions. And yet, she was unaffected. Why? She didn't run. She didn't panic. She simply survived. What made the difference? Days later, the search began. The mountain was quiet. The weather had stabilized. The bodies were found scattered, different positions. Some had torn clothing. Some were in unnatural states. There were no signs of attack, no struggle, no clear cause, no decisive evidence. The official conclusion was hypothermia and confusion under extreme conditions. But that explanation does not answer everything. Why did they scream? Why tear their clothes? Why separate? And why did only one survive? These questions remain unanswered, even now. The mountain says nothing. The wind explains nothing. The sky offers no answers. What they saw, what they felt, what happened in that moment, we do not know. But one thing is certain: they were not lost. They were running from something, something unseen. And so the question remains. That day, in Khamar-Daban, what really happened? Did they see something? Or did they encounter something we still cannot understand? And their final choice remains unexplained.
This story ends here, but in the darkness, stories remain. Will you stay for the next one? Dark Case Hub.